Hello, it's me, Nadia, and we are on way number 26 here at Free My Mojo, which was a halfway point. I can do that much math, that there's 52 ways, and this is way 26. So we're at the halfway mark. So it's wonderful to talk to you today because we are talking about something that is absolutely precious to me. And the way that we are talking about today is seek nature daily. And while I am speaking to you, I have the tremendous gift of looking out of a huge window and seeing beautiful birds fluttering around and playing around and chasing one another and tagging each other. And now I know why they say someone eats like a bird, and I wish I did. But they are very fun to watch. And just beyond them, there are trees, and just beyond them is the ocean. So we are very fortunate to be coming from you today. And if you hear a noise in the background, it is the wind howling because it's actually quite windy today, and that's a text message. So that, I think, makes the perfect point as we try to enjoy nature daily. There's all this technology and there's all this stuff that comes in, and there's all this stuff that disrupts us. One time, Ryan and I were visiting someone who owns and operates an edible forest. And we actually read about him in a magazine, and I called him up and I said, I read an article about you. Can we come and see your garden? Can we come and see your edible forest? Because it sounded so great. And we did, and we went, and we made wonderful friends with this wonderful man. And he was like a human oracle. He had all these stories. He had all this information. It was like if Google was a person, because he knew so much about nature and he knew so many things. And at one point I said, oh, I love it here. I just love to take the time to go and be in nature. How many of you have said something like that ever in your time? And he stopped and he turned around and he looked at me and he said, but Nadia, you are nature. And it was like, mind blown all over the edible forest. My mind was just completely blown open by this idea that I wasn't in nature, I was nature, that I myself am nature. What? Yes, it was a moment. It was a moment for me. And you may be way further on down the road than me, and this may have all been perfectly clear to you since you were a child. And perhaps as children, we do know that we have a nature and that our nature is a certain thing. But one of the things that we also realize is that we get distracted from our nature, like that pinging text message earlier, or an email, or a meeting, or we have to go here, we have to go there, we have to do this, or we have to do that. And one of the things that I think is really challenging at the moment is that we're living in a time where people are heavily dependent on technology. And we have been probably since the early 1900s. And we're terribly dependent upon our conveniences. We had a power outage recently where the whole power in the whole community went down. And one of my neighbors was saying, I couldn't get my work done. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. And we're so dependent on technology that when something goes wrong, we frequently are completely lost. So seeking nature daily is a beautiful goal. And one of the reasons it's such a good goal is that in seeking nature, we're seeking ourselves and we're seeking to connect. And a few days ago, the message was that when we connect, we reduce our anxiety and our anxiety goes down. So I find that when I take long walks and hikes through nature, or when I go somewhere and I just really am visiting something, whether it's a tree or an ocean or a river or a lake, I don't know what part of the world you're in, but when I take the time every day to be up with the sunrise, to pay attention to the sunset, to really be part of nature, it really does something wonderful for me. And I think it sets a pace for my life. In my artwork, I have a tendency to do a lot of flowers. And I used to kind of make fun of myself that I was just kind of like a little old lady painting flowers or something like that. But that, there I was painting flowers when other people might be painting things that were very complicated or complex. And then the other thing I tend to do is I paint a lot of abstracts. And those abstracts have a tendency to look like outer space, or to look like galaxies, or to look like universes. I do a lot of inks and alcohols, and the randomness of that really speaks to me. So one of the things that I want to encourage you to realize is that there are patterns in nature that exist through all kinds of things in all kinds of ways. And if we can see that spending time in nature daily reconnects us to ourselves and reconnects us to a bigger, larger universe than just ourselves. One of the things I think that's challenging or difficult is that we get so overly stressed. We think we don't have time for things. I don't have time to walk. I don't have time to go to the ocean. I don't have time to stop and take a photograph of this, or I don't have time to plan to visit somewhere beautiful or to do something or to even see flowers. So one of the challenges for us is to make sure that being in nature and being around nature and eating food, now this is going to sound weird, but eating food that comes from nature and not a factory. People are eating something called food product, and it's called food product because it's not even really food. It's like cheese food. Can't call it cheese because legally it's a chemical. So one of the things you need to think about, and I need to think about, is what are we putting into our bodies? What are we fueling ourselves with? If we are nature, then are the things that we're consuming, are the things that we're seeing, is this our natural self? So part of the 52 Ways to Free My Mojo is really about rewilding. It's about really getting back in touch with your nature of who you are, because there's so many things like working in an office or driving in a car or sitting down and paying your bills online. They're unnatural. And when I say they're unnatural, I mean they didn't exist. They're not of nature. They're man-made. They're human-made. And I do feel that as a culture and as a society and as a world, we have huge ecological problems that are enormous, massive. And I think that one of the reasons people don't mind creating tons and tons of single-use plastic, and I'm going to try not to go on a rampage now, but one of the reasons people don't mind doing it is because they don't understand their connection to nature, and they don't understand that there are things in nature that as we destroy them, as we destroy habitats, as we destroy things in nature, they cannot continue. Once they're gone, they're gone. And there's all kinds of issues around the world. There's villages in India where elephants are stampeding and causing problems because their habitats have been destroyed as they destroy where they live. And elephants are rather large. So they decided, well, if you're going to take our stuff, we're going to stampede your stuff. And, you know, that's kind of interesting. But of course, it doesn't usually end well for the elephant, unfortunately, in these situations. But my point here is, as best you can, as much as you can, try to figure out ways to incorporate nature in some way to your life, whether it's your food, hopefully it's your food, your clean water that you're drinking, the time that you're spending out in nature, maybe instead of a gym, going actually outside, being outside, planning something on the weekends, planning to park your car and walk sometimes, but figuring out how you can make your nature and nature itself just an intricate part of your life where you understand your connection to your nature and your connection to the nature of the world. And whatever you can do to increase that, I think you're going to find that your anxiety, your stress will go down, because there are for sure benefits, neurological and otherwise, from being in nature, and that is incredibly important. So I strongly encourage you to seek nature. I would love to hear from you and see what you're doing, and let us know how nature is impacting you and other ideas that you might have for other people to seek nature. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to be with you and share Free My Mojo way number 26, which is Seek Nature Daily. Thank you.